Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I want to talk about proportion in this video, such as in the question of whether or not a woman should wear makeup. I've recently fielded this question online. Somebody was confused about it. I think a lot of people are confused, perhaps. And other questions similar to that where the answer actually is one of proportion, where it matters, the scale matters, the context of course always matters. If you pay attention to my videos, you know that I'm a huge advocate and proponent of looking at the big picture, identifying the reasons for things, the motivations for things, because they define the activity in question. The scale, the proportion, not just the what, not just the fact that something has happened, but the who, when, where, why, and how are also equally important in determining whether something is proper or not. So if the question is whether or not makeup, for example, is proper, the question is how much and by whom, under what circumstances, and for what purpose. These are the questions. These are actually the only questions, not the fact that there may or may not be makeup. That part actually turns out is insignificant. It's irrelevant. The snapshot itself is irrelevant without the reasons behind it. And the outcome, of course, the outcome. What was the effect that it had? These are the only important questions. But this video aims to explore proportion, because proportion is a huge thing. It's, if you'll pardon the pun. Proportion is the difference between a distributor and a petty drug salesperson. A kingpin versus somebody who is recreationally using a substance. In terms of criminal prosecution, proportion is pretty well understood in the courtroom to be a dividing line between classes of crime, but also in a bigger sense, one thing doesn't equal another. And yes, there is a valid argument as to something can grow, potentially grow in proportion, so you want to nip it in the bud. Something small that could snowball into a bigger problem should be acknowledged as being potentially dangerous. But here's the thing, not everything does snowball. And to assume that it will always, to assume that because a road may be accessible, that it will lead to something inevitably, that somebody will always take it to its final conclusion, well, that's a little bit paranoid. That's a little bit excessive. And at that point, you're ignoring the context. You're ignoring the actual proportion and scale of the subject in question, whatever it is. And the purpose here, again, the video here is to help people better understand how to look at things in a healthy way, in a productive, useful way, to understand your environment, to understand the people and their behavior, so that you can control it, so that you can protect yourself and hopefully be happy and healthy yourself. Empowerment starts with understanding. One of my favorite expressions is, you cannot resist what makes no sense. You cannot resist what makes no sense. So if something does make sense, at least you have the ability to possibly defend yourself. I like to expose abuses and exploits, grifts as they are called sometimes, where people use tricks and bamboozling of people to get their way, to profit from other people's ignorance. And my goal is to empower people to think independently. I think that agency, as a connected aside, and the last thing I'll say is, agency is God's greatest gift to man, if you will. Agency is having your own schedule. Agency is being able to make your own choices, decide what you want to do, what is right and wrong, and enjoy owning the consequences, good and bad. Hopefully more good than bad, right? But if you can't own the consequences, if you can't make your own choices, that is, if you cannot think independently with some level of confidence, you have no ownership of your consequences, good or bad. So God's gift to you is agency, and that means that you can own your schedule and all of the stuff that comes from your decisions. But you have to be empowered to think independently and make decisions. I wish everybody a blessed day. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.